material existence. Actually, one is obliged to continue the term of material existence because of household life. But the Lord, being very kind upon householders, demonstrated the path of sanctifying ordinary household life. Because Krishna is the center of all activities, a Krishna conscious householder's life is transcendental to Vedic injunctions and is automatically sanctified. As stated in text 2 of this chapter, all the Lord's activities in the many palaces were performed by the Lord's single spiritual form, Ekena Vapusha, which manifested in many places at once. This vision was revealed to Narada because of his desire to see it and the Lord's desire to show it to him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the other residents of Dwaraka could see Krishna only in the particular part of the city they themselves occupied and not anywhere else, even if they would sometimes go to another precinct on some business. Thus, the Lord gave a special view of his pastimes to his beloved devotee Narada Muni. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे कौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all to the third session of our series on Rukmini Devi. So we have a very eventful and auspicious week ahead of us. This Saturday being Ganesh Chaturthi and followed by the auspicious days of the appearance day of the greatest of feminine potencies of the Lord. There is the appearance of Srimati Sita Thakurani, the consort of Advaita Acharya. That's on Sunday, and then followed by Lalita Sashti, that is the appearance day of the Lalita Sakhi. And then on Wednesday, next week, is the most auspicious festival, Shri Radhashtami, the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. So, I mean, that's how actually we started our whole session with the Radhika Sthava, the beautiful prayers written by Srila Rupa Goswami on Srimati Radharani. So we will have a quick recap of our session. Last week and the week before that. So since the series is about Srimati Rukmini Devi, we have started our first session by discussing about the tattva of Rukmini Devi, how she was the internal potency of the Lord. And we discussed about the various pastimes, the earthly pastimes of Rukmini Devi and with Lord Krishna in his Dwarkadish Leela. So last week especially, we discussed about how Krishna has reciprocated to the letter that is written to him by Rukmini Devi and was sent to him by a Brahmana. So we learned about how Krishna actually came to Vidarbha along with Balaram, and in front of everybody's eyes, he just abducted Rukmini, took her into his chariot, and he drove back to Dwaraka. And there was a big fight that was ensued, and Lord Balaram, who was uh, always with Lord Krishna, fought all these armies, and the Vrishni dynasty, that is Krishna, the Yadu dynasty, had won over all the kings who came to attack them. And finally, Krishna also had to punish Rukmi, the brother of Rukmini Devi. And finally, Lord Balram comes in between, and he consoles and pacifies Rukmini Devi, and gives her transcendental knowledge and brings her back to her pristine mood. And later, Krishna takes Rukmini to Dwaraka, and at Dwaraka, there was a beautiful marriage of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. So today we will take off from there. So what happened after the marriage of Lord Krishna and Rukmini? So today we will discuss elaborately in detail about Lord Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. So Krishna is known as Dwarkadish, and he had married 16,108 wives. So Krishna had a total of 16,108 queens. So we just, till last 2 weeks, we just discussed the marriage of one principal queen, it was Rukmini Devi. So today we will just have a look at how he married the remaining queens. So the next queen whom Lord Krishna married was Jambavati. So the story goes like this. There is a king called Satrajit. This story of Satrajit and Syamantaka Jival, it's very famous, especially in South India, because we heard it often during our childhood, during Ganesh Chaturthi. We used to have this kind of a traditional belief that on Ganesh Chaturthi, if you see the moon, you're prone to be subjected to various rumors and bad reputation. And the remedy for that is reading the pastime of Syamantaka Jival and then putting akshatas on your head that evening. So basically, this tradition is kind of prevalent, not just in AP and Telangana, but it's, I was just doing some research about this. Like, is there any scriptural reference to this kind of a belief that actually one is protected from blasphemy once, a person performs this ritual during Ganesh Chaturthi, or is there any scriptural basis to this? I was just, consulting my Siksha Guru and doing some research on this. So this tradition, interestingly, is prevalent in many parts of India. So that's the reason it should be having some scriptural basis also. So some investigation is going on regarding this. Nevertheless, it's a very, very beautiful and interesting pastime about the Syamantaka Jival. So this Syamantaka Jival is gifted to King Satrajit by the sun god, because Satrajit was a devoted worshipper of the sun god, and sun god, being pleased with his devotion, gifts him the Syamantaka jewel. And this is a very powerful jewel. It could produce more than 12 tulas of gold every day. That is over 100 pounds of gold. Every day it could produce so much. And wherever this jewel is, there could be no famine, and there could be no inauspicious in that particular place. So it's a very, very powerful jewel. So when Satrajit attained this jewel, he was very happy, and also he was also affected by some degree of pride because of having this opulence of the Syamantaka jewel. So what happens, he actually hung this Syamantaka jewel on his neck, and he started walking into Dwaraka to meet Lord Krishna. So this jewel was so effulgent, and because of the effulgence of the jewel, Satrajit himself was shining so effulgently. So in such a way that Dwarkavasis were thinking the sun god himself has come to see Lord Krishna. So all the Dwarkavasis very innocently go and tell Krishna, "My dear Krishna, I think the sun god has come to see you." So Krishna knows that it is actually Satrajit. And he's not very pleased that Satyajit actually is possessing this jewel because of the way it is affecting him. So Lord Krishna suggests Satyajit, why don't you give this jewel to Ugrasena? So Satyajit feels a little taken aback. Why is Krishna asking me to give away my jewel? Maybe he also wants to have it, and he starts thinking that way. So he doesn't part with his jewel. So one fine day, what happens is Satyajit, he gives the jewel to his younger brother Prasena, who takes the jewel and he goes for hunting. Uh, and when he goes for hunting, unfortunately, uh, lion comes and attacks him and kills him. So Prasena being killed, the jewel is also lost. So Satyajit now he starts doubting Krishna. He initially asked me for the jewel, and now my brother has taken it, and probably Krishna had stolen it. And he expresses these kind of doubts, and he spreads rumors that maybe Krishna has somehow abducted the jewel away because he wanted it. So Krishna hears these rumors about him, and he feels that now let me have these rumors clarified. Let me go and find out really what happened to the jewel. So Krishna, and along with some of his ministers and the soldiers, he goes to the jungle where Prasena has gone, and he finds that bloody stains and torn clothes of Prasena. Then he kind of understands what happened, and then Krishna enters into a cave. There's a huge cave where there are the paws of the lion. So Lord Krishna enters that cave, and Krishna enters that cave alone. Remaining soldiers and ministers, they're outside, standing and waiting for him. So it's a long and huge cave. So Krishna enters in, and he sees a small child playing with the Syamantaka jewel. So Krishna thinks, yes, I found it, and he tries to snatch that jewel from the small child, and then immediately a big bear-like form comes and attacks Krishna. So this bear-like form is none other than Jambavan. And then he begins to attack Krishna and fight. And there's a fierce fight that ensues, and it lasts for 28 days. 28 days continuously there was a fight between Lord Krishna and Jambavan. And this Jambavan is none other than the same Jambavan of Treta Yuga, who was in the army of Lord Rama. So with Jambavan having received all these kicks from Krishna and the blows and the mighty blows, and a lot of blood is flowing out from him, and he starts losing his strength completely, and then he comes to his senses. This personality is not ordinary. And then he begins to recognize the Supreme Lord, and he surrenders, and he starts offering his sincere prayers. My dear Lord, please forgive me. I could not recognize you. You are the same Supreme Personality, the Lord of all the three worlds. And you're the person who is super soul in every living entity. And you're the same personality by whose mere glance the whole ocean and the entities like the crocodile and the timingalas got agitated because of your fiery look. And you're the same person who has built the bridge to Sri Lanka. And you're the same personality who has beheaded the 10-headed Ravana. You're the same Lord Ramachandra right now standing before me. Please forgive me for this offense of mine of having not recognized you and having fought with you. Please accept this jewel, take this jewel. And also, I offer my maiden daughter, Jambavati, to you in marriage. Kindly accept her. So Jambavati is the daughter of Jambavan, and he offers her in marriage to Lord Krishna. So that's how Krishna marries Jambavati. So Maharani Jambavati ki jai. And then Krishna takes the Syamantaka jewel and Jambavati, and he goes back to Dwaraka. At Dwaraka, what's happening is this whole fight went on for 28 days, right? So after 14 days, the ministers and the soldiers who were standing outside, they got really concerned. So they go back to Dwaraka and inform that Lord Krishna has entered the cave and he's not returning. So all these Dwaraka citizens were in great anxiety, and they were offering prayers. When will Krishna come back? So, and then after 28 days, when they see Lord Krishna come back with the Syamantaka jewel and the beautiful princess Jambavati, they have major celebrations. So at this time, even Satyajit starts feeling very guilty that, what an offense I have committed, that, I have offended none other than Lord Krishna. I mean, nobody will ever dare to have any rivalry with the Yadus because of the might and the power, even at the material level. And of course, at the spiritual level, he's the same Lord Narayan. And what did I do? And he feels very guilty. So what he does, Satyajit comes and he begs forgiveness from Lord Krishna, and he offers Lord Krishna calls him and says, "Go take this jewel." And Satyajit says, "My dear Lord, kindly forgive me. I don't deserve this jewel, and not just this jewel. I'm giving my jewel-like daughter, my dearest daughter Satyabhama, to you in marriage. Kindly accept her." So Satyabhama is the only daughter of Satyajit, and he doesn't have any sons as such. So whatever is the property of the father goes to the daughter if the father does not have sons. So that's how he offers the jewel and his daughter Satyabhama to Lord Krishna. So this is how Krishna marries Satyabhama. So Maharani Satyabhama ki jai. So this is the third queen of Lord Krishna. So a lot of pastimes happen actually, how and where all the Samantaka jewel goes and what all happens. A lot of wonderful pastimes, but we will not go into the details of it. So we will go into the story of the next queen that Lord Krishna married, who is Kalindi. So Lord Krishna, he visits Indraprastha. Indraprastha is the place of the Pandavas after Bhishma divides the kingdom of Hastinapur to Duryodhan and the Pandavas. They give Pandavas the Khandaprastha, which is all a forest area with absolutely no resources. But then, due to all good fortune and the mercy of the Lord, Vishwakarma, who is the chief architect of Lord Indra, actually builds a beautiful palace called the Indraprastha. It was very famous for its amazing beauty and architectural brilliance. So Lord Krishna actually arrives at Indraprastha, and the Pandavas will be so elated to see him. It is explained that the Pandavas felt like they were the five senses and Lord Krishna is the life air. So when the life air comes to the body, the whole body comes back to life. That's how the Pandavas felt upon seeing Krishna coming to Indraprastha. So Lord Krishna, he very mercifully, he agrees to stay in Indraprastha for some time. And also Queen Kunti comes and greets him and offers beautiful prayers. Also in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are beautiful, beautiful prayers that Queen Kunti recites. And she's ever grateful to him. Actually, Mahabharata explains that in the whole of Mahabharata, Arjuna and Queen Kunti are two personalities who are eternally the associates of Krishna. So Queen Kunti is such a glorious personality. She's ever devoted to the Lord. She's an eternal associate of the Lord. So she receives Krishna and she offers beautiful prayers. So that's how Krishna decides to and agrees to spend the whole rainy season at Indraprastha. So Arjuna, and when he arrives at Indraprastha, he reciprocates with everybody so beautifully. Nice descriptions given that Krishna actually touches the feet of Yudhishthira and Bhima because both of them were elder to him. And he embraces Arjuna because he was of the equal age of Krishna. And then Nakula and Sahadev touch his lotus feet because they both were younger to him. In this way, there was perfect exchange of love and etiquette that we can observe in Lord Krishna's dealings. So what happens next is Krishna and Arjuna, one day they go out on a trip into the forest. So when both of them go out on a trip to the forest, now Arjuna comes totally, with his two bows. And, he has a bow and he was gifted inexhaustible quiver. That is, in his quiver, the arrows will never get over. These were gifted to him by the fire god, Agni Dev. So he has two inexhaustible quivers. and he has armor and with all the weapons. They just go for hunting to a forest, and when they go, they actually sit back and relax after some time. And then they were sitting and talking. Krishna then points to a girl who is walking nearby at the bank of the river. He tells Arjuna, Arjuna, just go and find out who she is. And Arjuna, who's ever ready to serve the Lord's instruction, he goes to the beautiful lady who's walking by the river. He goes and asks her, my dear lady, kindly please tell us who you are and why you are here in this place. So the lady says that I am Kalindi and I am the daughter of sun god. And ever since I'm born, my father has constructed a house for me under the water of Yamuna River. I've been living there performing penances so that I obtain Lord Vishnu as my husband. So, that was the very purpose of her life, to attain the Lord as her husband. And she's been performing penances ever since her childhood for that blessed day to come. So Arjuna, having heard of that, he bows down to her and he goes to Lord Krishna and he tells him the same thing. My dear Lord, the beautiful lady, she's Kalindi, and he tells Lord Krishna whatever Kalindi has spoken. And Lord Krishna smiles in a way that, yes, I know that. So he goes to Kalindi, he lifts her and takes her on his chariot, and then he leaves to Dwaraka with all his entourage of the ministers whom he came with, Satyaki and all his associates. They all return back to Dwaraka. And all the denizens of Dwaraka are very happy to see Lord Krishna come back with a beautiful queen. They celebrate, and on an auspicious day, they celebrate the wedding of Lord Krishna with Kalindi. So this is the wedding of Lord Krishna with Kalindi. So Maharani Kalindi Devi ki jai. So next, what happens after this? Krishna marries. So till now we spoke about the four princesses, four principal queens of Krishna. And there is another principal queen who is Mitravinda. Name sounds familiar, right? Mitravinda. So Mitravinda, she was the sister of Vindhya and Anuvindhya. So Vindhya and Anuvindhya are two brothers. Both of them were sharing the throne. But what happens is these two brothers were very loyal to Duryodhana. That was why they didn't want to get their sister married to Krishna, though their sister was so much in love with Krishna. So when they conduct a Swayamvara, they don't even want to invite Krishna because they want her to marry somebody else other than Lord Krishna, because they were loyal to Duryodhana. Then Krishna, understanding the desire of Mitravinda, he actually comes and abducts her and takes her away and then marries Mitravinda. So Maharani Mitravinda ki jai. And then Lord Krishna then marries the next queen. Yeah, Nagnajiti. There is so Mitravinda was the princess of Avantipura. And Nagnajiti, she's a daughter of King Nagnajit. Nagnajit was the king of Ayodhya, or it was also called the Koshala Desh, or Kaushalya. So this King Nagnajit had, he was a very rich king, and he had a lot of opulences. And he had one dear daughter. Her name is Satya, or they also called him Nagnajiti. Nagnajiti means the daughter of the king of Nagnajit is Nagnajiti. Her other name is Satya. So he invites Lord Krishna. He himself is a devout worshipper of Lord Krishna. And but then their relatives, the relatives of King Nagnajit, they actually put like Swayamvara, like for every Swayamvara, they put a contest, right? So for actually searching for the right groom for Nagnajiti, they arranged for a contest. And what is it, contest or tournament? They had 7 ferocious bulls, and whoever can subdue these bulls, they can win the hand of the princess. So one day, Lord Krishna actually comes to the uh, kingdom of Koshala, and when he comes there, the king Nagnajit receives him with a lot of hospitality, worships him by offering all paraphernalia, and glorifies him, offers prayers to him. And even Satya or Nagnajiti, when she sees Lord Krishna, at that very moment she gives her heart to him. And she says, and the king tells Krishna that it would be the great fortune if my daughter can actually be given to you in marriage. But then our relatives have actually, configured this contest that whoever subdues the 7 ferocious bulls, they alone can be the, he alone can be the winner of the princess Nagnajiti. So Krishna smiles and says, yes, I'm game for it. So Krishna he stands up, and the king starts saying, please be careful, because these bulls are so ferocious and angry, and they're so robust that so many kings tried their luck, and to subdue them. Many kings have come, but they all lost their limbs and badly beaten up, black and blue, and many lost lives too. So please. So Krishna smiles and says he enters the arena. And when he enters the arena, he expands himself into 7 forms, into 7 expansions. And in that way, there's a beautiful, ferocious fight. And then Krishna subdues all the 7 bulls. Krishna Bhagwan ki jai. So actually in Tamil Nadu area, no, in India, in some traditional parts of India, there is this bull fighting and subduing of bulls. Recently, I was hearing a lecture of Govind Prabhuji. He was saying that actually the origin of that came from this particular pastime of Krishna subduing these bulls. So then when Krishna subdues these bulls, King Nagnajit is very happy, and he hands over his daughter to Lord Krishna, and along with that, he gives a lot of dowry. He gives 10,000 cows, and he gives 3,000 maid servants for his daughter, and he gives enormous amounts of riches and gold and Jew and diamonds and everything, and sends as a dowry. So, and as Krishna is taking Mitravinda and going, many of the opponent kings also try to attack him. Every time there is the Swayamvara that happens, somebody wins over the girl, and there's a lot of, big quarrel ensues, because all of the kings get so devastated. I thought I would get her, and somehow he got it, and it always ends up in a fight. So that's how this whole thing again ended up in a fight. That Krishna took Mitravinda on his chariot, and he started moving, and then all the kings started attacking him. But at this time, there was Arjuna. So Arjuna comes into the picture, and with his mighty Gandiva, he takes the opportunity to serve the Lord, and he finishes all the opponents. So Maharani Mitravinda ki, Nagnajiti ki jai. Then Lord Krishna, we're speaking about the 7th queen now, Queen Bhadra. So Bhadra, it's a very beautiful, sweet marriage that she's the daughter of Lord Krishna's own aunt, Shrutakirti. So this is a very, sweet marriage that, no hassles. That the father of Bhadra comes and approaches Krishna that I want to give my daughter to you in marriage, and he accepts, and it's a nice, settled, arranged marriage. And Bhadra marries Lord Krishna. So Maharani Bhadra ki jai. So after Bhadra, then Krishna marries another queen, the 8th principal queen, Lakshmana. So Lakshmana is the princess of Madhra Desh. So this Madhra, I think it's the southern part of India. So in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, when actually all these queens meet Draupadi inquires, how have you all got married to Lord Krishna? And each and every one of them narrates their stories. Rukmini, then Jambavati, Satyabhama, then Mitravinda, Nagnajiti, Kalindi, and Bhadra. And again, Lakshmana also started, I mean, she starts telling about her story that actually her father, he arranges for a Swayamvara. And she tells Draupadi, this Swayamvara was similar to the Swayamvara that has been arranged for you, wherein a fish was kept and the best person is supposed to aim at the eye of the fish and attack and hit the target. But this contest, it is even more difficult than the one that you have that has been arranged for your Swayamvara, because in this case the fish was covered in all directions. And actually to this Swayamvara, many archers come, uh, not just the greatest of, and many kings have come. And of the kings, most of them, they could not even lift the bow. And people who have lifted the bow, they tried to string the bow, and as they tried their best to string the bow actually bounced back and they just fell flat, being kicked by the bow. And there were very strong people who could actually string the bow, like Jarasandha and all these macho men, the Bhima, and all of them were there. They all tried. They could string the bow, but they had strength, but they were not good. They were not good at archery, so even they could not do that. They could not aim at the. They couldn't even aim at what they had to do. So even Arjuna himself has tried, and even he could not succeed. So and then Lord Krishna came in, and within no time he could, win the contest by actually not only stringing the bow, but then succeeding in hitting the target. So Lord Krishna was the unparalleled winner of the contest, and he takes, and again a big quarrel ensues with all these kings who have come there. Everybody start fighting, and no, how can this happen? How can this happen? And then Lord Krishna again takes Lakshmana, and he goes on to he takes her on his chariot, and he starts off. And when he starts off, on his chariot, it's a very beautiful pastime. Krishna actually, he assumes his four-handed form. With two hands, he's holding his bride, his would-be bride, Lakshmana, and with another two hands, he holds his bow, Sanga. And then he starts shooting arrows in the opposite direction, and he finishes all the enemies. So, Lord Krishna's bow is very special. It's called Sanga. There's a beautiful verse in Mukundamala Stotra which says, Nathe dhatari bhogi bhogashayane narayane madhave deve devaki nandane suravade chakrayudhe sangini leela shesha jagat prapancha jatare vishweshware sridhare govinde kuruchitta vrittimachalam anyaistu kim vartanai. So Lord Krishna is saying, he's Nathe dhatari bhogi bhogashayane narayane madhave. So Deve Devaki Nandane, he is the same son of Devaki. Chakrayude, he has a Sudarshan Chakra, and Sangini, he holds the bow of Sanga. Actually, the Sanga bow comes many times in his Leela in Dwaraka and Mathura. Last time when we discussed about how he fought the armies of Jarasandha, that's when he actually takes his Sanga bow, and he, even just with the vibration of the bow, it shudders. All the hearts of the enemies shudder. So with this Sanga bow, he rains arrows, and all these enemies were killed. So that's how he marries Princess Lakshmana and takes her to Dwaraka. So Maharani Lakshmana ki jai. So this is how Lord Krishna has married his 8 principal queens. So after marrying the 8 principal queens, then what about the next 16,100? So Lord Krishna, once he goes to, before this what happens is, Narada Muni, one day he comes to Rukmini Devi, and he gives her a beautiful Parijata flower. And Rukmini is so pleased by seeing that flower, and she felt so happy. But then Satyabhama somehow she gets very upset, and she shows a lot of man. And she tells Krishna, you have given that Parijata flower to Rukmini. And Krishna says, don't worry, I will give you the whole Parijata tree. Then, that's how Krishna actually, who is very expert at pacifying his queens, he says, Satyabhama, don't worry, I'll get you the whole Parijata tree. So then after this pastime, what happens is Krishna goes to Pragjyotishapura. This is a place where there is the demon Bhaumasura or Narakasura. He's called Bhaumasura because he is the son of Bhumi Devi. So how he was born is interesting. When Lord Varaha is performing his pastime of lifting the earth, that perspiration falls on Bhumi Devi, and from that perspiration, Bhumi Devi gives birth to the son Bhauma. But unfortunately, because of association with a demon called Banasur, he becomes demoniac. This goes to show that no matter how glorious your birth is, he's come from the Supreme Personality and Bhumi Devi. What kind of parents he had, but still because of his association with a demon called Banasur, he totally becomes a demon, and he's the same Narakasur or Bhaumasura who was living in this Pragjyotishpur. So he is very infamous in the whole demigod circles because he steals away the earrings of Aditi, and the umbrella of Vayudev, and a part of Meru Parvat. All these very special items of the demigods, he steals them and he hides them. So the demigods are very upset with him. Actually, they themselves approach Lord Krishna and beg him that, my dear Lord, this Bhaumasura or Narakasura, he's creating a lot of havoc by doing all these demoniac activities. Kindly rid the earth of this person, of this demon. So that's when Lord Krishna, he takes Satyabhama on the Garuda carrier, and he goes to the city of Narakasura. So it's a beautiful whole scenario where Krishna goes along with Satyabhama. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura explains why Krishna has taken Satyabhama to a war. So first, one of the reasons he explains is that it's because he wanted to please his wife, because she had that chivalrous nature herself, and he wanted to give her an experience. And then another reason was that he also had, was planning to take her to, he had to hand over these heavenly items back to Indra and Shachi Devi, who's Indra's wife. So while going to heaven, I will also take her and give her that tree of Parijat. So that was another reason why he took Satyabhama. And another third reason is that Bhumi Devi takes a promise from Krishna that Krishna will not kill her son until she says, okay, you can kill my son. Now, so that Satyabhama is an expansion of, her expansion is Bhumi Devi. So he took Satyabhama so that, somehow he can give that assurance to kill Banasur. That's when he can, Bhaumasur, and that's when he can kill him. So that's how Krishna comes with Satyabhama, on the Garuda to this city of Narakasura, and amazing description is given about the fight that happens. There is a massive a five-headed demon called Mura who comes, and Krishna, the way he shoots his arrows and beheads this Mura demon. And once the Mura demon was beheaded, many of his sons come and they fight with Krishna, and they try to attack Garuda, and Krishna protects Garuda by raining arrows. And all this whole city was fortified with all walls of mountains, mountainous rocks and different substances. There were fortifications of wind, fortifications of water, and Krishna breaks through all these fortifications with his gada. The name of his gada is Kaumodaki. With his gada, then with the arrows, again Shangadhanva. Satyabhama inspires him to fight. She says, my dear Shangadhanva, please pick up your bow and fight with all these demons. Shangadanva, Krishna is also called, in Vishnu Sahasranam, we sing this Shangadanva Gadadhara ityastram Rathangapani Rakshobhya iti netram Trisama Samagas Sameti Kavacham Rutustu Darshana Kala iti jag iti digbandha Sri Vishwarupa iti dhyanam Sri Mahavishnu Prityate Sahasranama Japhe Viniyogaha. So Sangadhanva Gadadhara Ityastram, Krishna is also called Sangadhanva because he holds that bow, the very powerful bow of Sanga. And again, it's with this bow, he kills innumerable demons. Actually, Nectar of Devotion explains that when Shukadev Goswami was hearing this pastime of how Krishna was killing all these demons with his arrows, he was stunned in ecstasy. I mean, hearing the kind of massive fight that was there and how the army of Narakasura was enormous. There were elephants, there were thousands and millions of elephants, millions of horses. There was infantry and cavalry, and all of them attacked Krishna, who came alone. And Krishna just with, very in style, with his arrows, 3 at a time, he finished the entire army. And then he beheaded. And Narakasura also brings his Shakti weapon and he tries to utilize it on Krishna. And Krishna again smashes that weapon. And then at the end, Narakasura, he takes a trident, Trishulam, what we call. He takes a trident to attack Krishna. This trident is something which nobody can counter. So at that time, Satyabhama tells Krishna, my dear Lord, please finish Narakasura. So that's when Krishna gets that, okay, sanctioned. And immediately Krishna takes his Sudarshan Chakra and he leaves it. And then the Sudarshan Chakra goes and it beheads Narakasura. And that's when Krishna then enters into the palace of Narakasura, and there he finds 16,100 unmarried maidens. And all these maidens were abducted by Narakasura. Then they were all princesses of, and they're daughters of demigods and of various kings, and they came from great families. And this, Narakasura had this very horrible habit of stealing others' property and then hiding it. So that's how he hit all these 16,100 girls. And ever since they were stolen, they were offering sincere prayers to the Lord. And actually, one of the reasons why Krishna, the internal reason, is he heard the prayers of all these girls and he came. So there, the 16,100 ladies, the princesses, the moment they see Krishna, in their heart they think, my dear Lord, kindly accept us, as your wives. And in a Vedic tradition, that once a girl goes and spends a night outside the house, she's no more accepted back, and for marriage, to give away in marriage. So they all feel that sensitivity, and Krishna understands that sensitivity. And also, they're not ordinary. All these 16,100 ladies are the expansions of the gopis themselves. Skanda Purana explains that just like there are 16 faces of the moon, there are 16 principal gopis, and each is again subdivided into 1,000, and that's how there are 16,100 chief gopis, and they themselves are Skanda Purana explains that in their youth they were the gopis in Vrindavan, and the same gopis have expanded as the queens of Dwaraka later. So Krishna takes all of them and he goes to Dwaraka, and he marries each of them. And it's not that Krishna had to marry 16,100 queens on 16,100 days. No, he married all of them at the same time in different temples and in different palaces. He gave each of them their individual palace in Dwaraka. And he has himself expanded into 16,100 expansions. These expansions were called Prakasha. There's a wonderful explanation of Tattva of what actually Prakasha means. And he expands and he marries all of them. So now after that, yeah, Krishna takes Satyabhama and he goes to the heaven, and there is a fight with Indra, and they take the Parijata tree and on his Garuda, and he returns to his palace and he gives that Parijata tree to his queen Satyabhama. So this is how Krishna marries 16,108 queens in Dwaraka. So, and of all of them, Rukmini Devi is Krishna's favorite. I mean, favorite is a very difficult word, but still, he tells her that of all my wives, you're very dear to me. So why does Krishna say something like this? So there's a beautiful pastime that happens with Rukmini Devi back in Dwaraka in one of his chambers. The title of this chapter is Krishna teases Rukmini. This happens many years after his marriage. So Krishna one day in his palace in Dwaraka, he has a conversation with Rukmini. He was just he was relaxing on his bed. And then Rukmini Devi, immediately, she has thousands of maids, but the most menial service, starting from cleaning the house and even, and fanning the Lord, everything she personally did it herself. She was so surrendered to the Lord, and she was just always waiting for an opportunity to serve the Lord and please the Lord. So she takes the jewel-studded chamar from from the maid servant's hand, and she personally starts fanning Krishna. So, and when she's fanning Krishna, Krishna thinks that uh, Rukmini, she never gets angry. I have never seen her angry at all. Satyabhama, it was difficult for me to please her even with a whole tree of Parijat. Rukmini, she had one flower of Parijat, and when I gifted the whole tree of Parijat to Satyabhama, not even for a moment she ever felt the discomfort, or did she never even complain. And even when I killed, when her brother Rukmi was killed at the marriage of Aniruddha, she felt a lot of grief within her, but she never expressed. Basically, I never seen her in an angry mood. So Krishna thinks, now I want to somehow, bring that flavor of anger in her, and I want to see her angry. So he starts speaking some words which apparently sounded little insensitive, but acharyas explained that his speech was like, the stone grinder grinding camphor. What happens when the stone grinder grinds camphor? More and more of its fragrance starts coming. So that's how Krishna wanted to do that, give that grinding effect to bring out those glorious qualities, fragrant qualities from Rukmini. So he starts off with that, with some words. He starts saying, "My dear Rukmini, you know, you're like, you just rethink of about your choice. Maybe I'm not the right person for you. They were great kings, the kings of this whole planet Earth, with all their riches. They all wanted to come and marry you. And even your brother, Rukmi wanted to give you in marriage to Shishupal. And but I am somebody who, I'm not a king of any country, and I don't even own wealth. So probably, and I am not suitable of, marriage generally happens between equals, who's equal in beauty and opulence. And but somehow out of short-sightedness, probably you married me. And I am a person who is famous amongst, the renunciants and beggars who don't have any wealth at all. And, and I'm a person who is self-satisfied, who doesn't care much about relationships and all. So I think you should have got married to one of those great kings like Shishupal to lead a happy life. So when Krishna tells this, he's actually awaiting a kind of angry response from Rukmini. But then, so Rukmini hears all this from Krishna, and as she's hearing, with her lotus foot, with which had that reddish nails, she's kind of scratches the floor, and suddenly, her whole the chamara falls off from her hand. All her bangles become loose and fall off from her hands. And then, as like, just like a banana tree that is just, because of wind, it falls down. She faints, unable to take these words from Krishna. What happens when she faints? She's still in the process of fainting. And Krishna, he feels, oh my god, like, he feels a lot of compassion for her. And then immediately he assumes a four-handed form, and he holds Rukmini with two hands, and with two more hands, he settles her hair, and with another hand he caresses her cheek. And it was a very beautiful scene. So, and then he looks at her. Then she slowly opens her eyes, and then Krishna starts telling pacifying and very comforting words. Krishna is very expert in pacifying his queens. We can also see this in Braja Leela. He's very expert at pacifying. After all that he does, so he starts pacifying Rukmini Devi, saying, "Oh, my dear Rukmini Devi, please know that whatever I have said, it was jest. It was, jest. It was a jest or a joke. I mean, I didn't mean to say something very seriously, but I just wanted to see, your lips tremble in anger. I wanted to see the corner of your eyes reddish. And, I was expecting some angry glances from you. And, but then the reaction that you have showed me, that has totally conquered me. I mean, you have so much love that you can never be angry. Your heart is so full of love that you always want to give and never expect anything." In this way, Krishna glorifies and pacifies Rukmini. And then Rukmini actually comes back to her natural self. And actually, in a very, very logical way, she tells Krishna, in a very logical way, she answers everything, whatever Krishna tells her. Like, he says that why, this is not the right match. That is, marriage generally happens between equals. So Rukmini starts saying, yes, what you said is true. Marriage happens between equals. But in our case, it did not happen because you're the supreme personality of God. You're glorious and no one can match you. And what am I, an ordinary person? Rukmini takes the role of a jiva, though she is the supreme goddess of fortune. And she says, and you said you don't own any wealth. That is so true. You don't own wealth because everything is you. There is nothing beyond you. So what can you own? So in that way, in a very philosophical way, in a very logical way, she beautifully, I mean, if you get time, kindly read this chapter. And Krishna teases Rukmini. She answers all of his questions. I mean, whatever, words he used to tease her, she utilizes same things to glorify him, glorify Krishna's qualities. So, and she says, I know, so you're talking about those ill men like Shishupal and all of them. They are the people who are, who can marry women and who have never heard of your glories. And these men are like, she says, they're like asses, they're like oxen, and they are like dogs and cats. They are like asses because they carry the burden of, material existence. They are like oxen because, they are always tired executing their occupational duties. They are like dogs because, many of the householders, to protect their family, they become dogs just to protect their household life. And they're like cats because they eat the remnants of their wives. And in this way, Queen Rukmini, she gives so many explanations. I mean, many times Matajis come back to me and they say that, Mataji, why always some things are written in scriptures which say that women are such a wrong attachment to men and all that. But I always tell them, it's not always about Matajis. There's also sufficiently written about Prabhujis, how each of them is Maya to either. So you can read this chapter for that. Many interesting ways Rukmini presents her, the ultimate philosophy. So with all these words, Krishna becomes really conquered and pleased, and he says, "My dear Rukmini, for the love that you have, I can never repay. So please be pleased with your own love and devotion. And you're the best of my queens in Dwaraka." He says that. you know Krishna, when Krishna says, "I cannot repay," it's not that like somebody like us who is saying that. Krishna's reciprocation is so infinite. Prabhupada says that if we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 1,000 steps towards us. Krishna's power of reciprocating love is inconceivable, unimaginable. And when Krishna says, "I cannot repay your love," he in fact tells this also to the gopis, that in the whole lifetime, I cannot repay you in the life of Brahma with all my material and spiritual opulences that I have. So please be satisfied with your own devotion. He tells this to the gopis too, being conquered by their love and devotion. He tells the same thing to Rukmini Devi. So in this way, he actually crowns her, one of his, as the chief of his all princesses, of all his queens. So that's how that this is whole the atmosphere of Dwaraka, where Krishna is living with who has married 16,108 queens. So Narada Muni once becomes he becomes inquisitive. Okay, he hears Krishna has married 16,108 wives. How is he managing? It's a time. How he's managing with all of them? He gets this doubt. And then he enters, he goes to Dwaraka to see how Krishna is performing his pastimes. With generally householders with one wife, it's so difficult. Narada Muni says 16,108 wives. How Krishna is managing? Let me go and see. So Narada Muni is such a great devotee of the Lord. He's every moment thinking, absorbed in thinking of the Lord and preaching the glories of the Lord, and he's one of the greatest of spiritual masters. Chintayami harim yeva santatam mandahasa munditanam bhujam nandagopatanayam paratparam naradadi munivrinda vanditam. Lord Krishna is himself called Naradadi Munivrinda Vanditam, who's been given, glorified by great munis, great saints like Narada. So Narada is always Chintayami Harim. He's always thinking about Lord Krishna every moment. So Narada Muni comes to, when he comes to Dwaraka, what kind of a city was Dwaraka? It was a beautiful, elaborate city with 900,000 palaces. And all these palaces were made of crystal and silver. And there were so many lakes and beautiful pleasure gardens and amazing trees. And these lakes had lotuses which were of different colors, like pink, red, blue. So very rarely found these flowers. And they were all swans and cranes. And there were beautiful bees that were, always taking nectar. And there were peacocks who were dancing, and there were birds which were chirping. And these palaces were so exquisite that all their arcades were made of they were made of corals, and with all emeralds studded in them, and all the Vaiduria gems which were which marked their intricate designing. So it was very opulent, and even many demigods used to fly to come to just witness the city of Dwaraka. And this was especially designed by Vishwakarma, the architect of the demigods. And of all these 900,000 palaces, there was this personal chamber of the Supreme Lord himself, where he had the palaces of the 16,108 queens. These are even more exquisite. So Narada comes to these 16,108 palaces, and he first enters the first palace, and there he sees Lord Krishna having nice chat with his queen. So Dwarkapuri is also called it was called the heaven on earth because of its great opulence. It's unimaginable how opulent it was. Even the kind of roads and all, and all the best part is all the thresholds of every house were kept very clean, and even the maid servants were moving around in very beautiful and opulent saris with all gold jewelry. And even the male servants, male servants, they were also wearing very nice uniforms with very brilliant jewelry. So even the whole city had this great opulent look. So when Narada came to one of Krishna's palace, so Krishna immediately gets off his bed. He invites Narada Muni, seats him on a chair, and then what Krishna does, he seats him on his own personal chair, and he bathes his feet personally. And the acharyas say that Narada Muni also, I mean, though he was in that ecstasy, but still he lets Krishna bathe his feet, because through this he's just setting an example for the whole world. Krishna is also called Brahmanya Deva, who is the uh, well-wisher of all the Brahmanas, and Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. So the Brahmanas are very, very dear to Krishna, and they're supremely worshipful. So that's how Krishna sets that example by actually bathing the feet of Narada. And then Krishna asks, "My dear Lord, please tell me how we may serve you." And Narada Muni, he in his heart he was just meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord while he was doing. And Krishna asks that, please, I hope everything is fine on your end. My dear Lord, please tell me what can we offer you. So Narada Muni tells that, it's a great blessing that I have come and I've got your darshan. And my only desire is that let me always think of you. And, your lotus feet are worshipped by, the goddess of fortune, Lord Shiva, and everybody. And, there's this beautiful bhajan of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Je padala bhiya Rama tapasya korila, je pada paiya Shiva shivatvala bhila, je pada labhiya Brahma kritartha hoila, je pada Narada Muni hridoye dhorila. Is this beautiful bhajan of Ekona Bhujina Prabhu, the beautiful glorification of worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Jepada Lagya Rama, those feet, those lotus feet which were obtained by goddess Lakshmi after lot of tapasya, those lotus feet which have given Lord Shiva Shivatva or auspiciousness, and those lotus feet worshipping which, attaining which Lord Brahma has, attained all perfection, and those lotus feet which always Narada Muni holds as the most sacred in his own heart. May that lotus feet, be the object of my worship. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays like this. So having, obtained the darshan of those lotus feet, Narada Muni feels great ecstasy and jubilance, and see, he offers his prayers. And he says that, my dear Lord, you're asking me what you want. And my only desire is that every moment I just remember you, think of you. And may my consciousness be always submerged in your glories. So saying that, he begs leave and he leaves. And he next goes to next palace of Krishna. And where he sees that, here now Krishna, he's another palace number 2. He's, Krishna is playing the dice with his queen, and also Uddhava was sitting next to him. And as soon as he sees Narada, Krishna gets up from his chair again, and again he invites Narada Muni and says, my dear Narada, I'm very happy to see you. I hope everything is okay. Please be seated. And, Prabhupada explains that, Krishna has received Narada as if he's receiving the first time. Not with no reference to the previous palace. And then, okay, Narada Muni again receives all the worship and everything, and then he goes to the next palace. In the next palace, he sees Lord Krishna. He was busy petting his children. He was very doing some affectionate exchanges with his children, and he was all, at some other palace he saw he was just getting ready. At one palace he saw he was just doing some yajna. Another palace that he goes, he sees that he's giving lots of cows in charity to the brahmanas. Yeah, and another palace that he sees, he was practicing the sword fight. Krishna is a kshatriya, so he's doing some homework, like, he's practicing with his sword and the shield. He was doing the fighting. So at one place he was just chanting his Gayatri mantra. Another palace he was, he was just consulting with all his ministers, like Uddhava and everybody. He was just sitting and in his courtroom and talking about the welfare of his whole Dwaraka citizens. Another palace, in another palace he was arranging for the marriage of his sons and daughters. Interestingly, in the verse it is said that Krishna arranges for the marriage of his daughters and his sons at the right marriageable age. Something that all of us it's a lesson for all householders. He's arranging the marriages of his sons and daughters at the right marriageable age. And at another palace, Krishna is actually sending off his daughters. And at some palaces he's receiving his son-in-laws, and there were celebrations. And at some place, Krishna was just sitting alone in a room, and he was just in meditation. And in this way, in every palace, Krishna was just performing different activities. And seeing all this, Narada Muni just gets so totally baffled. And it was at the same time he's seeing Krishna performing different pastimes in different palaces. It was just mind-boggling to him. So, and at one place he sees that Krishna is actually supervising his ministers and all that, and trying to decipher their thoughts. So Narada Muni actually finds it a little funny that how Krishna, like an ordinary human, is trying to decipher somebody's thought, because he is himself the Paramatma in everybody's heart. He does not need to work hard for it. So, and then actually Narada Muni comes and he bows down to the Lord, and and at his heart, at the heart of his heart, he feels some distress. And actually Krishna comes and dispels his distress, saying that, I am the upholder of all religious principles. So indirectly he's saying that don't feel bad that, I am worshipping you, your lotus feet, and all the demigods, but I have to set this example through my activities. So that's how he dispels Narada's distress, saying that. So Narada Muni also, Lord Krishna, his purpose is dharma samsthapanadhaya, to establish dharma. That's his chief purpose. That is why Krishna never deviated from his religious duties. Because yadyad acharati shreshtas tattad evetaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. He tells in Bhagavad Gita, whatever great men set as the example, the rest of the world follows. That is why it is very important for people in the highest order, even though they do not have any obligations or duties, yet they continue performing their occupational duties and religious duties, to set an example for the ordinary men to follow. And as glorious as Lord Krishna himself is setting the example, doing his regular occupational duties to set the example for the rest of us to follow, how much seriously should we take to live a dharmic life, and the life of, dedicated to following one's occupational duties in Krishna consciousness. So this is how Krishna, through his pastimes, exhibits the importance of following one's occupational duty. So Narada, being thoroughly satisfied in his heart, he begs leave from Krishna. My dear Lord, please grant me leave. Now I'm so overwhelmed. I want to, sing these glories of all your pastimes, whatever I have witnessed by your mercy. I know I have witnessed all this because you have, out of your causeless mercy, allowed me. You have given this mercy to me so that I could have the vision of your amazing pastimes. So now let me just grant me leave so that I go and sing your glories in the entire universe. So Narada Muni, when he was in Dwaraka, there was a so this is how Narada Muni, the pastime is completed. And then there is one amazing pastime actually, because it is Radhashtami. I'm just trying to share this. Radhashtami, it's coming on Wednesday. So this is a pastime that I read in His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj's book Mathura Meets Vrindavan. It's a famous pastime, but it was very beautifully narrated. So Lord Krishna was, exhibiting this Jwara Leela. Jwara means fever, the fever pastime in Dwaraka. So Narada Muni approaches Lord Krishna and tells, "My dear Lord, please, how come you are affected by fever?" Then Krishna says, "Yes, I'm really affected by fever, and this fever has only one medicine." Narada Muni says, "Please tell what is the medicine." And Krishna says that only the dust from the lotus feet of my devotees can cure me of this fever. Then, my dear Lord, I will just return immediately. And Narada Muni thinks, all the whole Dwaraka is filled with, of course, devotees, the greatest devotees of the Lord. So he goes and approaches all the queens of Krishna, and he asks each and every one of them, "My dear uh, queen, please kindly give the dust of your feet to cure the fever of Lord Krishna." Then all of them, they say, "Dust of our feet for curing the fever of Krishna, please. We are going to go to hell for the rest of our lives. He's a worshipable Lord. He's the most worshipable Lord. How can we give the dust of our feet to the Lord?" So in this way, each and every queen denies giving the dust of their feet to Krishna. And they feel themselves very insignificant, and the Lord is supremely worshipable. Then Narada Muni goes to Vrindavan, and he tells the same thing to the gopis. No, Lord Krishna is suffering from fever, and the only medicine is the dust of the lotus feet of his devotees. Then immediately the gopis, they take the dust off their feet, and they say, "Take this, take how much ever dust you want. You pack it in your bags. Just take as much as you can, and please take this immediately to Krishna." Then Narada Muni, understands what is the glory of the love of the gopis. That yes, it is true that if you give the dust of your feet to Krishna, you're going to go to hell forever. But the gopis are willing to go to hell forever to relieve Lord Krishna of his fever even for a moment. That is the unfathomable love of the gopis for Lord Krishna. So Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that the love of the damsels or in the queens of Dwaraka, and in Dwarakapuri and Mathurapuri and in Vaikuntha, that love it's mixed with Aishwarya and Jnana. It's a mishra. But the love in Vraja, especially of the Vraja gopis, is unalloyed. It is simple and it's unalloyed, and it is matchless. It's a supreme, and it's a purest. And out of all the gopis, the greatest and the most dear to Krishna is Srimati Radharani. So ahead we have this auspicious, beautiful festivals of Lalita Shashti and Radhashtami. So I wish that you all celebrate with wonderful mood and hearing all nice lectures by our senior devotees, our great, our disciples of Srila Prabhupada and glorious devotees. That please don't forget to hear the nectar from them. And I wish you all a happy Radhashtami. Thank you very much. And at this point, I'll just take any questions if there are. Okay, I'm just waiting for any questions if you have. Nothing. Okay, Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.